I never thought a simple backyard barbecue would end with police lights flashing in my driveway. That morning the air smelled like fresh-cut grass and charcoal smoke drifting over the cul-de-sac. My name is Alex and I had lived in Willow Creek Estates for just over a year. Everything was quiet until Carol decided she owned more than her own property line. She was the HOA president, a perfectly coiffed woman in her 50s who smiled like a shark. Her voice always carried that fake sweetness that made your skin crawl. I was grilling burgers when her shrill call cut through the neighborhood peace. She had dialed 911 claiming I was trespassing on common property and stealing landscaping stones. I stood there, spatula in hand, mouth open, while two cops pulled up with lights blazing. The older officer asked for my side of the story with a tired sigh. I explained I had simply stepped 3 feet onto the shared greenbelt to retrieve my dog's ball. Carol crossed her arms and declared the cameras proved I was lying. Cameras. That single word hung in the warm afternoon air like a threat. I felt my stomach tighten, but I kept my face calm and my voice steady. The cops exchanged glances and asked her to show them this supposed proof. She marched us all to her back fence where a small black lens poked through the slats. It was aimed straight into my yard, capturing every inch of my private space. My heart started pounding harder as the reality sank in. She had been watching me for months without a single word of warning. The younger cop scratched his head and muttered something about privacy laws. Carol's face flushed red, but she doubled down with her usual condescending tone. You people never read the bylaws, so I had to monitor the neighborhood myself. I almost laughed out loud at how casually she admitted to illegal surveillance. Instead, I took a slow breath and let the cops handle the immediate mess. They told her the cameras might be a problem and suggested we all calm down. That night, I sat at my kitchen table replaying every weird incident from the past months. Carol had filed complaints about my grass length, my mailbox color, even my holiday lights. Each notice came with ridiculous fines and passive-aggressive notes signed by her. She spread rumors at block parties that I was hostile to community standards. Neighbors started avoiding eye contact with me like I carried some HOA plague. I had stayed polite through every letter, every email, every surprise inspection. But hidden cameras crossed a line that made my blood run cold. The next morning I filed my own complaint with the full HOA board. I attached photos of the camera angle and timestamps from public property records. My hands shook slightly as I hit send, but my mind stayed crystal clear. I knew I needed evidence, so I started recording every interaction from then on. My phone became my silent witness, tucked in my pocket during every encounter. 2 days later, Carol cornered me at the community mailbox with her usual smug grin. She waved another violation notice claiming my new flower bed violated color guidelines. I kept my voice even and asked her directly about the cameras. Her eyes narrowed and she hissed that it was her right as president to protect the neighborhood. I smiled politely and reminded her that state law required consent for recording private areas. She laughed it off like I was the ridiculous one in this whole mess. That afternoon the board called an emergency meeting in the clubhouse with stale coffee and tension thick enough to chew. Carol arrived early, clutching her folder of evidence like a holy relic. She played grainy footage of me walking my dog near the fence line. The room went dead silent when everyone realized the camera had been hidden for weeks. I stood up slowly and pointed out the obvious legal violation in a calm tone. Board members shifted uncomfortably as I explained wiretapping statutes and invasion of privacy. Carol's face turned an interesting shade of purple, but she kept interrupting with excuses. I let her dig her hole deeper while my phone captured every frantic word. She finally snapped and admitted she installed 6 more cameras around the cul-de-sac. The collective gasp from the board sounded like a balloon deflating in slow motion. The president of the board cleared his throat and asked for her resignation on the spot. Carol sputtered that this was all a misunderstanding and that she had done nothing wrong. I sat back down, letting the silence do the heavy lifting for once. The investigator the police had referred arrived the following week with a warrant in hand. He methodically removed every camera while neighbors watched from their porches in stunned silence. Carol stood on her lawn, arms folded tight enough to cut off circulation. She muttered threats under her breath, but the fight had clearly left her voice. I watched from my window, feeling a strange mix of relief and dark satisfaction. The footage from her own cameras later revealed something even better than I expected. One lens had caught Carol herself sneaking into my yard to measure my fence at midnight. She was wearing gloves like some cartoon villain measuring for her next complaint. The board reviewed everything and voted unanimously to remove her as president within 48 hours. The official letter cited multiple violations of both HOA rules and actual criminal statutes. Carol's husband loaded boxes into their SUV the following weekend without a single word to anyone. The neighborhood felt lighter almost immediately, like a weight had been lifted off the entire street. Kids played louder, neighbors waved again, and no one mentioned bylaws for weeks. I sat on my porch that first peaceful evening, sipping coffee that tasted sweeter than usual. The sun warmed my face while the faint smell of someone else's barbecue drifted over. It was almost funny how the woman obsessed with control had lost everything in the end. Power in small places always reveals who people really are when no one is watching. Except this time someone had been watching back, and the footage told the whole truth. I smiled to myself and raised my mug in a quiet toast to unexpected justice. The cul-de-sac was finally HOA-free in the only way that mattered.